And you're with Fine Music Breakfast here on Fine Music 102.5. I'm Annabelle Drumm. We're also on the digital network under DAB+, under the words Fine Music, on all your favourite radio apps, and also on the internet at finemusicfm.com if you want a taste of home when you're outside Sydney. The temperature at the moment is 7 degrees, and we're looking for a high of 23. And in Penrith, it's 2 degrees, and we're looking for a high of 24. That's actually moved up since I first started breakfast this morning, so it's getting warmer. And it's going to be a gorgeous sunny day, and looking for a little bit of cloud later in the afternoon. And then the next 2 days over the weekend will be very similar days, maybe a little bit more cool. Now, in the studio I have with me this morning a performer with an unusual background, coming from a rural upbringing. She moved to the big city and within just a few years is now professionally performing with the Sydney Symphony, the Song Company, Gondwana Choirs, and as a guest singer for the Academy Award-winning film composer Hans Zimmer. I would like to welcome Nyssa Milligan.
Good morning.
Good morning. So nice for you to come along.
Yeah, no, it's kind of something on the bucket list. I definitely
well, to complete it so early.
Yeah,
that's pretty helpful.
The Fine Music was definitely always on the radio waking up. And so to be here is a real pleasure.
Oh, how lovely. Now, your upbringing in the countryside was just really unusual, I guess. I'm figuring that most farm kids wouldn't have had that classical exposure.
Yeah, well, I just had a mother who adored classical music. And so I grew up on my parents' dairy farm on Cundall Plains, which is north of Cundalltown, north of Taree, which most people have heard of. And it was an amazing upbringing, just me and my family on the farm. And my mum was very much in control of the music. And so I had this fabulous immersive classical upbringing, if you like. The radio was always on. There was always Kathleen Ferrier records playing, and just completely fell in love with it. And unlike most city kids, my first foray into performing classical music was in front of herds of cows as opposed to human audiences.
Very patient audience, I suppose.
Very patient audience. And
do you think they liked it?
I think they loved it.
Because I've seen videos on the social media and things of people coming out and starting to sing, whether it's classical, whether it's just pure kind of folk music, and the cows come running.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they love it. And my bedroom on the farm had a big window, looked out over a paddock. And so practicing, the cows totally knew when I was practicing. It was a bit of a change moving to Sydney and rehearsing in practice rooms with no windows. I was like, I don't have a captive audience as I learn music anymore.
Kind of the opposite of captive though, isn't it?
Yeah,
but they were still there for you.
And I didn't really realise that I was very lucky growing up like that, but it was also a different experience to most kids, which I definitely didn't realise until I moved to Sydney. And I was like, I didn't have, orchestra in high school, and I didn't do music at high school and have all those things, amazing opportunities that city kids have.
So what brought you to Sydney then?
Well, I definitely wanted to sing, try and have a shot at singing professionally. That was always the dream. And I did the auditions at the end of school and was lucky enough to get a scholarship to the Sydney Conservatorium of Music.
Would that cover your accommodation and everything as well?
So it covered a lot of my costs, which was fabulous. So I thought, let's do this. Let's move to the big smoke. So I jumped off the cliff and grew wings on the way down and moved to Sydney to study at the Sydney Con. And I'll never forget that first day walking down those steps and seeing a castle, which the Sydney Con is. It definitely looks like a castle. Thinking, this is very different to paddocks and cows and what I'm used to.
Did you ever get any sort of moments of panic as you were arriving here and like a culture shock?
Massive culture shock. It sounds really strange, but as classical audiences would know, there's all these beautiful rules when you are audience member seeing a classical concert, like not clapping in between if
Movements.
your movements and all those wonderful things, which I definitely, like, I'd been surrounded by classical music, like recordings and those kind of things on the farm, but I hadn't really had much live music exposure. So that was definitely one of my most embarrassing moments, moving to the city and going, okay,
learn
not
fast.
clapping here.
Yeah. But also when you actually sit with somebody playing an instrument, how divine that is, because you feel the vibrations. It's no longer like a recording where you're just listening, right?
Absolutely. And also being able to share those musical experiences was also amazing. So being able to get up and perform and then watch a friend perform and go chat about it afterwards was one of the best things.
Yeah. So after so much isolation.
Yeah, absolutely. And isolation, 1,000 memories I wouldn't trade. I mean, pretending I'm Kathleen Ferrier on top of hay bales was kind of pretty lovely. But
It's good law of attraction stuff, though, isn't it?
It
Really.
is.
You hear that often, where you get people that have got a dream and they build on it without any resistance from other people.
Exactly.
When there's nobody saying to you that's rubbish, then there's nothing in your mind that says that that's impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was definitely big learning curve moving to the city, and but amazing. I mean, what an adventure. It still feels like an adventure. I still feel like I'm learning.
There's always more to learn.
There's always more to learn. You never know it all.
So when you came to the big city and you're learning your classical music at the con, you've probably got so many other pieces of music within the city that you could come across.
Absolutely.
Right?
So I very much had a classical upbringing, and then suddenly I was in the city. I was living in a share house. I was meeting all these different kinds of people with different loves, and I was going and seeing jazz, and I was seeing pop and folk and all these musical worlds that I didn't really even appreciate existed. Having that, being, independent in the city, being able to experience all these things for the first time as, an
Magic.
18, 19-year-old was kind of magic.
I bet you must have been really hungry for it. And
Absolutely. And kind of hungry in a way I hadn't even realised. I definitely love Sydney because it has so many great venues to dive into, and it's a small community in many ways. So you meet someone and before you know it, you've met someone else and you're off at a concert that you didn't even know was happening. And it's just, it still is, but very exciting.
Now, the work that you're simply working on at the moment is heading towards cabaret. What introduced you to cabaret?
Well, I went to see Bernadette Robinson in Songs for Nobody. She was in Sydney. And she, for those of you who don't know, Bernadette does this incredible show where she impersonates Maria Callas, and then she's Judy Garland, and she moves through all these incredible women, impersonating them and singing in so many different genres in one show, just her on stage. And it completely blew my mind.
You love that cabaret feel?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much... watching a performer on stage in that space, making it their own, is just incredible. And there's so much freedom. And so I thought, ooh, what's this cabaret thing? And then I just started exploring and going and seeing as much as I could. And the thing I learnt to love most about it was all the genres you could explore. So I had...
Within seconds, right?
Within seconds.
Switch from one to
and
the
you
other.
can totally mix up. I could do some of my favourite classical repertoire, but do it in a context where I was making people laugh. You could walk around the audience and tell people to get their phones out. And so it's mixing up the traditional classical music environment and just having some fun with some of my favourite repertoire and being able to put Brahms and Beyonce in one show.
And connection with the audience by the sound of things.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Because it's a very different classical music. I love it so much and I love going to classical concerts, but it's a very different feel with an audience to cabaret. So it's great to have both.
Now, I've seen some of the video footage of your cabaret performance, and the thing that I really noticed, because I come from a dance background, was that you were very sort of natural, and you've got your sexy moves, and everything about you feels very like you could very easily pick up dance as well. Have you ever considered doing that?
Well, so I love dancing. I've never had any professional dance training, but because I kind of fell in love with the movement's a big part of cabaret too, because you need to get the audience in and keep their interest. And so I've been actually going to dance classes just this year, which I've really loved. But again, if you had have told that wide-eyed country kid moving to the city that in a few years you'd be, dancing on stage and going to dance classes as well, she probably would have laughed.
Now, we've got a track here that a piece of music that you chose for this interview. Tell us why you chose it.
So, growing up, I remember starting to listen to opera quite little, and I remember saying to my mum, all the opera singers sing really high and I can't sing really high, so that means I can't sing opera. And Mum was like, no, because I'm a mezzo. And she was like, no. I remember she went to the local library and got out a video recording of Carmen, and one Sunday afternoon we sat down and watched it. But the funny thing was, I really wasn't interested in Carmen. I wanted to be the fabulous bullfighter, the toreador. I was like, this guy's character is amazing. I want to be this guy. And so I get to sing the toreador's song in my cabaret and have a lot of fun with it, which is kind of a dream come true.
But you want the audience to be your cows?
Absolutely.
And be your audience?
I definitely want to be comfortable on stage, and to do that I get the audience to be cows for me, because this cabaret cowgirl is at her most happiest when there's cows in the room. So yes, so I get the audience
be best
involved.
To move for you.
Absolutely. So always move for me, and it's been great. I've met people who I didn't know who have come up to me after shows and just mooed at me.
Really?
And I love it.
This has become your brand, your catch cry. So
great.
Maybe we could all practice right now. If we listen to the
that would be a
Toreador
wonderful
song.
idea.
We've got a wonderful recording with Gerald Finney performing with the London Philharmonic. So let's have a listen to the Toreador song, and we can moo while we listen. We had to add our own little moo in there. I'm not sure if it was in tune, but it was close enough. All right, so that's wonderful. And so you've got your cabaret program coming up soon.
Yes.
You've got a few of them.
Yes.
That's wonderful. So the name of the cabaret show is Times Are Hard for Dreamers.
That's it.
And that one is at the News Agency in Camperdown on the 22nd and 28th of August.
Yeah.
Then the next one is in the East Side Music Festival.
Yeah, absolutely. So the inaugural East Side Music Festival, the fabulous Dr. Neil Perez da Costa is putting together this amazing program of music, and I'm just thrilled to be involved. And that show on the 2nd of September is at a pizza restaurant in Paddington.
So is it all spread around Paddington?
Yes, it is. So I'm looking forward to bringing the cabaret cows into pizza land.
You'll have to customise it, perhaps make it slightly bespoke.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my first thought was, can I incorporate eating pizza into my show? Because the thought of watching
Just
an
don't
audience...
ask them to moo at the same time. That's really not going to work.
The thought of watching people eating pizza and not being able to eat it, I was like,
that
I might
could
have
affect
to
your
do
singing.
something about that.
Did you know that there's something really terrible? My dad, who's a conductor, used to say that if you really wanted to upset a singer, sit in front of them and suck a lemon, and it just makes that makes them salivate so much. It just completely messes up their singing.
That's so mean.
It is mean. Trust my dad to know something like that. Lemons.
Oh, how funny.
So maybe pizza would work the same way. It might not be very a good advantage for you.
I'll definitely have to, be in the right mindset to not let the pizza throw me off my game.
Yeah, I'd put the cabaret after the pizza. Yeah. Maybe dessert you might just get away with. And then the other one is the 25th of September. And that one is the Sydney Fringe Festival.
Yes, which I'm really
big
excited
time.
about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a big festival. So that'll be great. That's the 25th of September. So we have a double pass to give away for the 28th of August show. That's the one at the news agency in
Yes.
Camperdown.
Yes.
Thank you
No,
for
my
offering
pleasure.
that. So if you're interested in getting that double pass to Nyssa Milligan's wonderful cabaret, Times Are Hard for Dreamers, and you'd like to join in the mooing, you can give us a call, 9439 4777, and say that you're interested in Nyssa Milligan's show, and the draw will be just after 9 o'clock with the receptionist here. And if we want to get more information about that particular show, where is the best place to get
The
it?
best place to get all the information would be on the news agency's website. So the news agency is this fabulous little cabaret venue in Camperdown. It's really cozy. You get to sit in couches. I love it. And the news agency official website has all the details about where it is, when it's opening, when the show is, all those things. So pop on over there to get all the information.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming in, Nyssa.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having
lovely.
me.
All right.